Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video, and today I want to discuss a little bit about whether hacking is becoming more of a problem in Battlefield 2042 and what I think DICE should be doing to tackle this going into the future, especially if we're going to have, let's say, a free-to-play experience like a Battle Royale in the next Battlefield game. As always guys, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, hit up the subscribe button, don't forget to follow me over on Twitter as well. You can also find me down in the Discord or indeed streaming over on Twitch. And as usual, all the links to that are in the description. So from my personal perspective, I've never had too much of a problem with hackers in Battlefield 2042. I've certainly run into the odd suspect person, somebody who's on an insane kill streak or just has very few deaths, somebody who seems a little bit sussy, but for the most part, I thought I could count probably on one hand the number of times I've run into a cheater. And then of course recently we've seen EA bring in a brand new anti-cheat system that they've also put into Battlefield 5, which, you know, would naturally lead you to assume that the likelihood of meeting a cheater in a Battlefield game is likely on a decline. Now I just want to quickly preface what I'm about to show you guys. Some of you may recall over a year ago there was a cheater by the name of Gemini899 that was ousted by Silk. He kind of exposed him over on his channel. It was pretty big news. A lot of the content creators covered it. And this guy was a jet pilot who had the so-called world record in the game. It later turned out that he was a cheater. He had some sort of an aim cheat that was bending his bullets towards the enemy. But what I took away from that experience of this guy cheating is that if he would have never uploaded his gameplay footage on YouTube, I honestly believe that he would have never been caught. This guy had been cheating all the way back as long as Battlefield 4. So I saw this footage on Twitter today, doing the rounds as you do, and it turns out there is a guy called CPTDADDYYHIND who basically ousted himself. I believe he posted this footage himself on a Battlefield Facebook page. It then made its way to Twitter and subsequently my YouTube video. And this is honestly, I believe, the first time I have seen anybody using cheats in Battlefield 2042 so blatantly, and I am shocked to actually see how advanced they are. You've got wall hacks, of course, enemies are highlighted, and you can obviously see once they are in his line of sight and he's able to fire at them, they then turn red. He's also got an aim hack that instantly snaps his aim to those enemies, and then of course there are these little blue triangles around his center screen that show the direction of every single enemy in the match. And what is absolutely hilarious about this footage is that despite all of these hacks and cheats that he's using here, he's still an absolutely terrible player. And that right there, teabagging somebody that you've just killed using cheats, like, dude, I don't even have any words for that, man. That's just so pathetic. So this is also evidence that just because a player on the enemy team is bad doesn't necessarily mean that they're not cheating. Generally, when you think of a cheater in Battlefield, you think of somebody who's got like 100 kills and 1 or 2 deaths or something like that, right? They're kind of obvious in those situations. But I think this just goes to show that that is not always the case. Now, the real question is here, why isn't the new EA anti-cheat kicking this guy's ass? And if we go and take a look at this guy's accounts for a second here, this is his Xbox account, and this guy, CPTDADDYYHIND, he was well known as basically the top Xbox Hind player. And if we go and take a look at his vehicles here, you'll see that he has 1,096 hours played in the Super Hind. He's only got a 1.5 KD on here. Definitely not the kind of statistics you would expect a cheater to have. But you can also see he's got 325,000 assists on that account. Now, the account that he was actually cheating on is not his Xbox account, it's his PC account. And it has an extra Y in the name there. And this one, as you can see, has a 9 KD. Now, he's got 11,000 out of his 14,000 kills in the Nightbird, so it seems that he is predominantly a vehicle player. And here you go, here's a screenshot of him using the same kind of aim hack here in the Nightbird. So like I said earlier, this guy has been around since Battlefield 2042 came out. I recognized the name instantly, and it appears that he has managed to play the game whilst using cheats for this entire time. Now, once again, just like with Gemini899, the only reason people have figured out that he is cheating is because he has, for whatever reason, posted footage online of him doing so. And I have to assume that's because he just doesn't care, right? He knows that EA and DICE are surely going to ban this guy with that kind of a smoking gun. I mean, he's posted footage with his username of him using the cheats. I can't see how they won't ban him, but he'll just make another account, right? All you need to do is make a new email, buy a Battlefield 2042 again, wait for the Steam sale, whatever, and you can continue using your cheats. And I have to say, this newest development makes me very suspect of other players as well. There's another guy here called Luke Skyfarmer. He's also a content creator, just like Gemini899. And also, just like Gemini, he is posting world record games of him in the jet, Nightbird games, etc. And he is well known for hanging around with this CPTDADDYHIND guy. Not only that, but he is one of the known harassers of Ash BF. Now, whether you like Ash or you don't like him, I really don't think anybody deserves the kind of harassment that he has been receiving, and I don't think it's really debatable that this Luke Skyfarmer guy is a dick. And just to show you guys how much of a massive ego this guy has, here's a little excerpt from something he posted in a Discord. So it says, "To be honest, no one but us deserves the attention that other people get. I'm the best air main in the history of Battlefield. Why should Ash or Flex get attention that I deserve?" And Ash and Flex are both streamers who play in the Little Bird quite a lot, and he's obviously annoyed here that they are getting more viewers and more attention than he is, because he perceives himself to be better than they are at flying in Battlefield. And then this guy replies here saying, "Yeah, but why are you messing with the people?" And here he's referring to the harassment of Ash, and he just says because it's funny and because DICE won't ban us. And they still haven't banned them. So knowing those facts about him, knowing that he hangs around with CPTDADDYHIND, who we now know to be a confirmed cheater, knowing that harassing other players constantly on a daily basis isn't outside his scope of morality, what do you think the chances are that he is willing to use hacks and cheats to get whatever he wants out of this game? Obviously, I can't prove it, but I'd say they're pretty up there. Okay, so it turns out we actually might be able to prove this after all. I was done recording the audio for this video, but then recently, Ash put out a video picking apart Luke Skyfarmer's most recent game where he basically smashes the world record for the most amount of kills without dying in a game in the jet. He gets 128 kills and 0 deaths in this game. And I'm going to link Ash's video down below because he does a really great job of picking the whole thing apart and pointing out exactly why this guy is cheating, but I wanted to share a few examples with you guys here as well. So I'm not sure if he's necessarily using aim hacks in these clips here, because we know that Gemini899 got busted for that, but I certainly think he's using wall hacks, although the rocket pods do look pretty suspect. So if we go back and watch this clip here, he's just flared off, he's seen the guy on the rooftop there, he's going to come in and strafe him, and just pay attention to how accurate these rocket pods are. Let's remember that they generally aren't this accurate, right? They have some splash damage on them, yes, which makes it easier to cheat with these things if he is indeed using an aim hack. And what I think he's doing here is possibly aim hacking with the rockets, but not with the cannons, because if you recall, that's what gave Gemini away, and he doesn't want to get busted in the same manner. Now here's another example, and pay attention here to the visibility, right? He sees a guy spotted there, sees another guy spotted, but then he just goes for this big stack of players and gets a nice little triple. So let's take a look at this again, because once this happens so quickly, it's kind of hard to spot the fact he's cheating. So he comes down here, he sees this engineer spotted, and if you listen, that is the noise of him frantically spotting. He spots a guy to the left there. He still doesn't go for that guy. He goes for a bunch of enemies that are currently unspotted. Now, you can see them, you know, very slightly through the fog and the mist here, because this is bad weather here on Kaleidoscope. But he goes for this stack of enemies instantaneously, right? He doesn't miss a beat, he doesn't go for any of those spotted players, and I think it's because he knows that they're there all along. He's spamming the spot button here to hopefully spot the whole group of enemies so that his clip looks legit, it looks like he spotted them and then went for them. Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say that he has super amazing vision and he just noticed that group of enemies, and he has amazing reaction times and he just locked onto them. But here's another great example of this. He comes around after flaring here, and again, there are 3 guys spotted here. So let's just play this one back again. So he's coming out of his turn here. He's been locked on, so he's used his flares, so he is somewhat vulnerable. He's against the time. We see 2 engineers and a recon spotted, but again, he doesn't miss a beat, he goes for these guys here that you honestly can't see at all. They're not spotted in the game, so how does he know that they're there? And it's not like he's lining up his sight to go onto one of the engineers and then he changes where he's aiming. As soon as he comes around out of that strafe, he knows that there are guys there because he can see it on his hack. He's got those red or white boxes around them, and he can probably see like 3 or 4 of them stacked on top of one another. And finally here for me, this one is the smoking gun that Ash pointed out in his video. So right now he's been hacked. He's got no flares, he's got no repairs. He still decides to come down here for a strafe, and he sees that guy running out there. Strangely, almost, he reacts to that before he even sees the guy. Okay, so let's take a look at this one more time, right? He's on the enemy side of the map. He has 62 health. He's been hacked, so he has terrible mobility. He has no flares, and he has no repairs. Most jet pilots would be trying to retreat at this point. Now, granted, he is trying to go for a high kill game. So there is a skyscraper in between A1. He can't see anything, but he still decides to go down to A1 here and take a look. And fair enough, they've got the flag, so maybe there is going to be somebody here. You can't really make out anybody in this doorway in the darkness, but apparently he just knows there's somebody there, and lo and behold, he starts damaging 2 people, and then he reacts to this guy coming out of the doorway and running to the right, like insanely fast. Remember guys, the clip I've just showed you is at 25% speed, so that reaction is 4 times faster in real time. And pay attention to when he starts to tilt the jet to the right to see this guy running, right? He doesn't see anyone. He's tilting the jet already. Now you see the guy. The guy's behind the pillar. There are explosions going off. There's no way he sees him there, but he starts to tilt the jet preemptively to go and target that guy. Why? Because he sees him behind the pillar because of his wall hacks. And here's one more that shows that his aiming with the rocket pods is pretty sus as well. So you can just tell every single rocket is hitting that Wildcat dead on. And as he comes around here, you can't even see his crosshair. He's actually turned down the opacity of his crosshair, possibly to hide where he's aiming, so you can't really link his aim hacks to where he's actually aiming. And, I mean, you can see he's aiming pretty well here, but he's still kind of tilting the jet left and right a little bit, but every single one of these rockets is a direct hit to this vehicle here. He one-strafes this thing. They have recently nerfed the rocket pods, so that kind of stuff isn't supposed to be possible, but for this guy, I guess it still is. So in conclusion here, I'm not 100% sure that he's using aim hacks because it just is so hard to tell with the rocket pods. They change where they're landing based on the velocity and the trajectory of your jet, and of course whether they come from the left pylon or the right pylon. And if he is using hacks there, I think that's the reason he's doing it with the rocket pods, because it is hard to tell. But he is undoubtedly 100%, I would say, using some sort of a wall hack or some sort of like highlighting hack like we saw in the other video that shows you where all of the enemies are. But I guess the whole point I'm trying to make here, it's not just about these 2 guys, right? These are just 2 guys who use cheats, but what is alarming to me is that they've been able to get away with it for so long, and it's only because they've been uploading content on the internet that people are now onto them. And I'm sure it's not because people haven't reported them multiple times before, and it seems like DICE haven't taken action, and what's more, the EA anti-cheat system that is fairly new to the game doesn't seem to be doing anything, at least with these kind of cheats. Here's another YouTube channel that I was alerted to the other day, and this channel is actually selling cheats, and as you can see by the videos, they've got cheats for Helldivers, and now more recently they've been posting cheats for Battlefield 2042, and this is, you know, Season 7, so they seem to already have something that can get around the EA anti-cheat and circumvent it here. And I have of course sent this information over to the community managers if they weren't aware of it already. But yeah man, here we are at the end of the life cycle of another Battlefield game, and once again I'm very unimpressed by EA's anti-cheat systems, and also just in general by the way that EA and DICE are handling bans in the game. The whole situation with Ash, it just rubs me the wrong way. I think something should have been done around that. I mean, he's even shown that these guys will follow him into servers even when he's not streaming, right? So not only can he not stream the game anymore, but he can barely play the game in his own free time. So in conclusion, I definitely think this is something that EA and DICE need to look into for the next game, as I said at the start of the video, especially if there's going to be any kind of a free-to-play offering. Cheaters like these guys that I have mentioned in the videos have shown that they don't really care about having to make a new account, even if they have to purchase the game again. So maybe they need some kind of IP ban system. Perhaps that would help, but you know, they could always circumvent that with a VPN, but at least they'd have to play with a crappy ping in that case. Guys, as always, leave me your thoughts on the matter down below. Let me know if you have any suggestions for ways that DICE could handle this. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.